Rich again. We're finally rich again as Bitcoin heads up to just over $35,000 in the early morning hour, at least for me over here in Dubai. You might be in the Western Hemisphere, of which that was maybe late last night. Maybe you're even awake for it. I wasn't. But more importantly, the topic of today is, now that we're rich again, where does Bitcoin go from here? And where do you spend your money? Where do you actually spend your money? I don't know, because you can't spend Bitcoins nowhere apparently anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But it is fun to watch nonetheless, and still gets the old dopium going. The dopium, no. Opium, no. Dope. You know the one, that damn buzzword that everyone was using for a while. Anyways, welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's nice little Tuesday morning over here. You already know. Let's just get right into it, starting off with the 5-day time frame chart. Once again, getting a pretty massive move here. So in this case, I want to reference this chart yet again to judge how far along over the overall trajectory are we in this current move. What is reasonable to expect within the next sort of time frame here, in the next few weeks, basically, and how high, if there is going to be continuation, which, is that even likely to begin with, but how high could it be going? So I think I need to first plug in my computer. So one moment. There we go. All right. Nice one. Let's wait for it to load in. There we go. Beautiful. And first things first, I want to reference this chart. Again, volatility versus stochastic momentum. Volatility was at the lowest lows on the 5-day time frame that we've seen in very, very long time, basically comparable to June, July of 2020, before Bitcoin had that major breakout into this last market cycle, basically starting, actually that was way back on over here, basically where Bitcoin went from 10,000 all the way to $65,000. Now, I'm not suggesting a similar move to that. I'm just saying that in terms of volatility coming out of this base that Bitcoin's been building for the past almost 6 months now, actually more than 6 months, going back to March, April, basically, is getting resolution as of right now. So this first move to the upside on the breakout, is that likely to be just it, just logically speaking or intuitively speaking, after a more than 6 month long consolidation? I'd say that's probably unlikely, but again, volatility giving us a more mathematically based of kind of judging that over here. And yes, we're seeing the expansion for the first time in a while, and it is rather significant, getting back above about 40 percentile. Of course, the direction of the stochastic oscillators has actually been in the long side, perfect in getting the moves based off of this volatility setup, and in this case, it looks like it's going to work out yet again. Now, just because it has been perfect over the last 11 iterations and now it's going to be 12, doesn't mean it's always going to be like that, but so far so good, pretty damn nice. But 12 out of 12, not bad. And and in this case, it's going to continue with its upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 29,150 or so. Also, should be known that it's going to have a chance to break a long-term trend line on the next closure, going back in from the highs of April, actually. So almost, or actually more than a 6 month long trend line right there. And that would imply, yes, new things are happening over the grand scheme of things. So going back into the statistics for this one, just looking at the long setups, what we have seen is that on average, these have taken about 33 days to play out with the standard deviation of 10. So that gives us a highly probable range between about, let's just round here and say about 25 to 45 days, 25 to 45 days. Well, if we measure this setup in the way that I've been testing them out, how long have we actually been seeing this one work out thus far? Sorry, it's actually not exactly perfect right there. There we go. That would be the one. 25 days, or at least this next closing period on the 5-day time frame would be 25 days. So this would be on the lower end of that interval. On the upper end, again, about 45, and in the mid, let's just call it 35. So it could go on for another 20 days. Basically another 3 weeks. Could go on for another 10 days. I do think that it's extremely unlikely. We've seen the top on this one exactly right here. When I say the top, I mean I'm not talking about short-term, medium-term, as we'll get into later. Yeah, I do think that Bitcoin's probably found a short-term top, actually, but or at least a little bit of a consolidation around this region. But over the next few weeks, continuation a lot more likely. In terms of what the average return has been for this setup, has been about 43% with the standard deviation of 10. So how much have we seen thus far? Comparing that to, well, whoops, I'll make sure I get this right yet again. Or I guess it doesn't really matter here, but we've seen, okay, let me really zero in on this one. Let's zero in on it as much as possible so that we can, make more sense out of this damn chart. Okay, we've seen about 33% to the upside. So again, that would be on the lower end of that interval. And I do think that, time-wise, and also just just looking at this consolidation, I think that would be pretty unlikely that things would stop here. So I do think that it probably moves at least closer to the average, which if Bitcoin were to go to 40%, where that put Bitcoin about $37,000 again in alignment with that same breakdown level that we did see coming in from May of 2022, where Bitcoin really started to accelerate to the downside after breaking, multi-year support, if you will, if you believe in such things. Anyways, going back into it again, 10% standard deviation would give us an upper range at about 53%. So, if things get really crazy, maybe we hit one of them Fibbo Swanee targets. What does 53% look like? That basically puts Bitcoin at about $40,000. Actually, he's looking much more north than that. So, doesn't mean that we can't hit an area like that, reconsolidate, another signal emerges, and then hit one of those Swanee targets. Definitely possible, but just saying, for right now, it's probably much further away. I don't think that this is happening anytime soon, and I don't believe that he actually is either. In particular, for like one of those more aggressive targets, into the deep 40s, let's say, or even 50. So looking at this right here, yeah, the breakout is real, as we spoke about yesterday. Probability wise, likely to go on longer after maybe a short-term consolidation right here, maybe in the next 5-day period. Next areas of interest to the upside would again be 37,000, basically around one of the last major CME gaps, I believe. Let's just double check over here. Yeah, actually $36,000, but close enough within that region. Also 618. So kind of speaking around the same region there, and then you got about $40,000. So a lot of things lining up around those regions. Just kind of be aware. And of course, it's not like that exact number. It's going to be a bit of a zone. So 36 to 37, and then you got like 39 to 40-ish region, I would say. But the next two major areas of interest upon continuation, again, in the near term, as we'll go over later, near term is probably more likely to consolidate a little bit, spend a little bit of time sideways. Anyways, I'm going to get onto some good old patterns, the greatest engagement tools possible. I don't know fucking why. Maybe just because it's the most. I actually really don't know why. Far fewer people are interested in statistics than they are in formations like this. Just look at the engagement on YouTube or especially Twitter. Sometimes I'll even post them as well just to like do a little bit of a test, and yeah, it's true. I mean, people like their fucking patterns, I guess. Anyways, in this case, yeah, there was an ascending triangle right here, and we do see, or you can even call it a W formation. Same shit. It's just higher lows. That's all it is. That's the only reason why patterns work to begin with. The measured move would actually be pointed towards $39,000. That is actually very, much in alignment with one of those targets that we looked at over here. Based off of that setup, a more mathematically based setup, you might say. And then also on top of that, there's a couple things going on with the weekly and then the 3-week RSI. The weekly RSI does have a pretty massive head and shoulder, or inverted head and shoulders here, I should say. Here's your left shoulder or double left shoulder. That's fine. Here's your head. Here's your right shoulder. Here's your neckline. There isn't really an implied move to be made off of this, obviously, because it would literally give you above 100 RSI, and that's not literally possible. But, just kind of looking at it right here, do I think that RSI could get back up, north of 80 on the weekly? Yeah, somewhere between 80 and 90 most likely. Maybe let's just call it 85, which we can actually predict what price would be if the weekly RSI got around those numbers. So just go into it right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put Caretaker's control or critical bull level at not 72, but let's just call it like 85 and see what kind of populates. Okay. Let's see. Where is it? Wow, that would actually be that would actually be quite high. That would actually be around $50,000. Interesting if it got around there. Again, I'm just guesstimating where that could end up. Let's say it's like on the lower 80s, like just 80. How much would that change things? And again, this will update as weeks pass on by, of course. So it's not going to be like it's kind of like a fuzzy picture as of right now. But 80 would put, that would be more reasonable, about 42,500. And again, that number will update as the weeks pass on by. And the neckline actually still hasn't even been breached just yet. Bitcoin would have to close the weekly RSI above about 70 right here. The 3-week RSI, we spoke about this one a long time ago as well. I'll just kind of reference it yet again here. I got a few questions about this, and it's like I haven't really mentioned it in a while, but that's because the 3-week time frame doesn't update often. It takes 3 fucking weeks, almost a month. But yeah, again, same thing right here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Here's your neckline. Boom. This one's extremely likely to break out, technically speaking. Is it actually confirmed just yet? Actually, it is. So yes, that's good. And, again, there's not really a measurement to be taken off of this one, but I'd guesstimate that, RSI gets somewhere around here at least, which is 70, right? So let's just see what, a 70 RSI read would mean for Bitcoin in terms of price from this particular level. So again, it's going to update over time, but we have like a low resolution picture here, and that would be about 48,000. So interesting. See how these ones update over time. Just kind of get a general notion of where we are within the greater scheme of things. But I thought that was rather interesting. Maybe you might as well. And I'm going to change this back now before I forget, because I don't want to forget. And I'm going to put it at let's put it at 80 actually for now. Kind of do like a deeper control zone just personally. Anyways, okay, yes, we've got that. Also of note, we do see that Dixie is putting in a nice high here. We did say that, hey, this would be a great place for a weekly reversal, which I believe that it is now. Yes, indeed. I do think that this one will head a little bit lower. Before we said about 105 to 104.5, I'd still be saying about the same, probably closer to 104.5 at least. And I still wouldn't call it like a macro reversal just yet, but where does a macro reversal start to come into the picture? Like below 104, I would say. So does that help out Bitcoin? Maybe. These haven't really been playing opposite of each other for a while anyways, so don't know how much it matters. But that people and macro experts on Twitter and YouTube and whatever the fuck will be speaking about it ad nauseum no matter what, because that's what they do. They macro experts are the best people like to come up with an explanation about something that makes logical sense but does not fucking happen. Just my thoughts. I've seen it a million times now. And I'll just say it straight up. It is truly mind-blowing, the lengths that people go to try to explain unobjective measurements, non-objective, subjective measurements, when they could literally just rely on math. Like, what the fuck? Oh well. For every long there needs to be a short, and for every short there needs to be a long. Just the way that things are, I guess. Anyways, we can go over here. So this is one of the main reasons why I do think that Bitcoin probably finds a bit of a short-term consolidation here. It is starting to hit up into the 95% of historic returns range highs on the HPDR bands at $35,000 basically. So that's a pretty critical area. Can these ranges step up again? I mean, they can. They certainly can, but I think it would take first a little bit of time for Bitcoin to spend in here before they do step up. So that's kind of why I would be saying, a few days in a consolidation within this region is like it's not that crazy to speak about. Typically the first moves of major breakouts, they get that pullback on the next day, and then continuation over like the few days that follow. So in this case, it's kind of the same thing as before. Anything above $32,000 or $32,500 for that matter is really good long-term for Bitcoin. Below 32.5, okay, we can start to talk about major rejections, big bad problems. But for right now, Bitcoin hanging out above 32,500 is a healthy consolidation before likely leading on higher. Towards one of the targets that we spoke about over here, over here. For right now, things looking good for the BULAs, breaking into new yearly highs and breaking back above really the big bad breakdown level of May of 2022, which is significant, at least in my view. So take that as you will, I guess. But that is my opinion right there. Anyways, we can go check out stochastic momentum to see where things are. Obviously, the weekly and the 5-day haven't changed. The 5-day actually will for CME close today, so that one will change later today. But it's going to close above the moving average and continue upside, so looks good. What about the 2-day time frame? Is this one closing tonight? No, it is not, but remains upside pressure above 31,000, that is. Daily time frame remains upside pressure above 31.5. 12-hour time frame still got room. Well, it's getting pretty critical here. 31.7. 6-hour time frame, also really critical, 34,350. 4-hour time frame, also really critical, 34,100. And hourly time frame is going to be flippy floppy after hitting some pretty critical levels at 34,400 current pivots. So, I do think that Bitcoin trades a bit of sideways here, maybe a little bit of short-term downside. How far down can it go? I mean, I don't have strong opinions on that. My strong opinion is just on 32.5, basically, as long as Bitcoin's above there. Long-term, very, very good. Can come down to there, theoretically speaking, for a quick test, but as long as you're getting daily closures above that region, especially up and away, most likely into November. So I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. Just another reminder that for the people who've been on this channel for a long time now, especially over the past few months, which have been, mind-numbingly boring, important things do happen during these times. And hopefully these videos are some sort of a release for myself and perhaps even useful for yourself as well, as we talk about price action, slowly putting in brick by brick, the building of a long-term structure. And, I sincerely hope that if you did stay around during these times, you are benefiting from it. Not necessarily from myself, but just from your own actions, right? In the sense that, you're actually making use of these times. And important things do happen during these times. And I'll say the old fucking overtried trope, which is millionaires are made during those times as well. And perhaps that's you. And if it is, congratulations. If it's not, fuck you. Just kidding. But no congratulations. Because once you pass 1 million, then you get the congratulations. Yeah. No, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, just a reminder that for the people who did stay around here, yes, it was boring, but important things did happen, and hopefully these videos have been some way helpful. So I'm going to sign off on that note. I want to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow, Wednesday.